If your childhood was anything like mine, you'll remember going to the school library and getting out the Guinness Book of World Records and just enjoy checking those out. And, it was so fascinating the way they would glorify and immortalize these people in these books for hoarding stuff. It's like you see these people being celebrated for having these mountains full of collectibles. It's like, wait a minute, you're telling me that if I get more stuff than these people, I'll be a celebrity? I'll get my name in this book? I'll get a big picture in this book with me surrounded by all my things? That's the dream, man. And at some point, you grow up and you realize maybe that's not the dream. Maybe it's not worth it for 5 seconds of fame. Maybe it's not worth it when you realize that you don't own the stuff owns you. My grandfather, who I never got a chance to know because he passed away a long time ago. And his big hobby, what he really loved doing, was collecting money, collecting coins, like really rare and old coins, metal detecting for him and all that stuff. And that's really fun. That's really cool. But, he had all that, and it was still around when we had to, when my grandma passed away earlier this year, so we had to, do something with the stuff that was left in her house. And so he had this great big chest along with many other things full of coins, and the chest was so heavy you couldn't even move it. Like, apparently my grandma used to say things like, oh, like hoping that it wouldn't fall through the floor because it was so heavy. And, it might have been harmless to collect that. It might have been fun, I don't know. I didn't even know him. But, I'm just saying it's like, all for what, I mean, what do we do with this? Like, I don't have an interest in this money. Like, I didn't have any part in it. I didn't get to find it and collect it. Like, this doesn't really mean anything to me outside of the fact that my grandpa, who I never knew, put a lot of love into this, and I know that some of it's got to be worth tons of money, and I don't know anything about reselling money, and I would feel like an awful person to resell it, like that was his, like, life, like, doing all that, I don't want to, that feels really scummy. I don't want to do that. But at the same time, it's like, what do we do with it? We just have this taking up so much space, It's like, all for what? It's just stuff. It's just a bunch of old money. And I feel really bad for saying that, because, like, I wish I could, like, appreciate it more, because that's what he loved doing. But it's like, that's just not my thing. But maybe I somehow got it from him, like the love for collecting things, because I really love collecting things, It's like in my blood. But I gotta be careful not to let it be an idol, because it definitely can be an idol, and it definitely has been in my past, and I just gotta let go of it. And I've been working on letting go of it. Over this past summer, I tried having this huge yard sale, and I barely sold anything. And, well, one big problem is that most people around here don't care about that kind of stuff. And another problem was a lot of my prices were really high, and it was difficult, because it's hard to sell things for less than I know that they can sell for online, because I know, I spent so much time and money and effort collecting this stuff that I know that it's worth a lot more than what people are willing to pay at a yard sale. So I definitely overpriced it, and so most of it didn't sell, and so I'm stuck with this stuff, and I've definitely been trying to sell stuff on eBay, but when you price stuff on eBay for what some people are willing to pay, you will sell it likely eventually, but it just takes so long that you just end up stuck having all this stuff. And it moves so slow that it doesn't matter. You're just stuck with so much stuff. You don't have space. You just realize that you ended up wasting all your space, time, and money, and energy, and for what? Just for this job that's just, why? If the end goal is to get rich, well, that's not gonna work out, because our money comes from God. And once I realized that, I'm like, I've been wasting my time. Why am I doing any of this? Yes, I do collect a lot of stuff because I genuinely enjoy it, because it's fun. But, I've definitely bought things because, I knew that they would get value over time and I could resell them. But, God's just looking at me and he's like, you don't need to do that. It's just taking up all your time. God is your provider. He provides. You don't need to try all these crazy fancy ways to try and make money. Just live your life. Don't let things consume you. I struggle a lot with materialism because I like things. I like things a little too much. And that's a weird problem to have because some people struggle a lot with hate. And hate is a lot more obvious of a problem because generally liking something's good. But you can overlike something. You can overlike things. You can like things too much. And I just like to like things, So it's a weird problem to have. And at the end of the day, money does not matter. That's the whole point. Don't do things for money. Don't try to be rich. Don't do that. Money isn't the point. God's the point. God sees you trying to make money your God, and he's not happy about that. He's a jealous God. He's like, don't do that. That's foolish. Trying to chase after money like that. And it's weird because I got into it because it's a fun hobby. But I also see how they can gain value, and so it's like, why not? But it can just be so much, just too much, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. In the end, it's not worth it. All your priceless collectibles, very, very soon, sooner than you think, they're all going to become dust. All this world is going to be ashes. The only thing going to another place are our souls. Ashes. 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 Even our Bibles will be ashes. Which, God tells us his word remains forever. So his word, what he said, what was written in the Bible, it'll be here forever. But, the physical books, they'll likely become ashes. I mean, that's an interesting thing to think about, because I've actually heard a lot of stories about how Bibles don't burn in fires. I've heard so many crazy, wild stories about firefighters who, all the time, they find perfectly good Bibles in homes and churches that were completely burned down, but the Bibles remained intact. That's something that could only be done by the true living God. That's amazing. You should look into this stuff if you don't believe me. That happens. That's a real thing. Bibles survive the craziest things. But it's God's word, so of course it's going to survive. It's amazing. It's amazing. I love that. It's you want miracles, they're here. They're all around us. The fact that Bibles survive these things is such a miracle.
This is my car. It burnt up. I'll insert the video, but I want to show you something. I want to show you how good God is. Is at this. So my husband came to get me, and he found this. Ronnie, get it out. He found this. This is how good God is. My car is burnt to a crisp, as you see. But look at God. This is Ronnie's Bible. Look, y'all. You can't tell me that God isn't real. No pages are scathed. No pages are burnt. Listen. If you're not a believer, you need to get on it. And don't worry about my nails. If you're not a believer, you need to get on it because nothing is burnt. So, this is my car. It burnt up. I'll insert the video, but I want to show you something. I want to show you how good God is. But look at God. This is Ronnie's Bible.